Basketball.
It's time to strap in and get ready. The Insight NBA team is in the arena, bringing you the ultimate play-by-play on who's hot and who's not to help you win your leagues and dominate your mates. You're now hooping with your hosts, Matty G, Skitty, and Melly for the Insight NBA show.
G'day everyone and welcome to the Insight NBA show where we talk all things fantasy. Happy Valentine's Day. You can see the flowers and the things around the place here in the household. Spoil those who spoil you. And get yourself in some trades before your league trade window closes. This is what this show is about. We are talking the sell high guys and buy low. With only maybe a week and a half, this is the All-Star break week in fantasy basketball, playing across 2 weeks in all leagues across ESPN or Fantrax or Yahoo. So there is this wiggle room. A couple of deadlines have passed. A few deadlines have passed. I know only one of my leagues, the deadline shut earlier this week. Generally, we're looking at mid to late February for most. So our window to make these moves that can help us win our league is very, very small. So let's start off with our sell high guys for the week because we want to get some value back. A 2-for-1 if we need to. Don't forget, when we do the 2-for-1s, and someone asked me this the other day, do I like 2-for-1s? Because I talk about them a little bit. And I'm like, well, sometimes I do. Especially if I can free up roster spots, and I do have those in a lot of my leagues, I like to get back what I know is going to be substantial value with how many games are left before the end of the regular season. Now, I always try and keep one spot open for streaming no matter what, but sometimes there's some tantalizing value that we can't let go of. I like to give out 2-for-1 because that opens up a streaming spot. I'm giving away, if I'm happy to overpay for something slightly, because it's very hard, and we all know this. We've all been there before when people come knocking at the trade door. It's hard for you to get a 1-for-1 swap you like. And a lot of it's negotiation. Like, no, I like this guy more. And then someone wins the trade and someone loses the trade. And it all comes down about that. But there are guys right now that we can reap the benefits of. And number one right here is Ivicia Zubac. He has been a first-round player in the last week. Big Zoo has absolutely been feasting for the Los Angeles Clippers this season. It comes as no surprise. They needed what he can do very badly in LA, and it just has made sense with them. And you can see here his numbers over the last 2 weeks. Now, that rank we spoke about was from Basketball Monster. Here you can see that even in Yahoo, this is a guy who is 95% rostered. And this means that I would argue in Yahoo that there are 10 team limited man rosters where this dude is not owned. And there's going to be a couple of these guys today. And it's going to be interesting when we talk about it. This isn't one of my leagues. You can see that he is available in none in my competitions, nothing that I play in on Yahoo, and he is 95% rostered across the board. In the last week, he has been at 765 from the field, 100 from the free throw line, 18.7, 14.3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and almost a block shot. Now, they are just narrowly right now. So I'm recording this. I put this list together before today's games. He is right now on the floor, 10, 7, and 2 steals, 4 from 9. So it's a little bit down on his recent value from the field. Now, he could have bounced back and have an incredible second half, and they are down 6 points currently to the Utah Jazz. But still, it speaks to Big Zoo's body of work. The last month, 15 and 12, 2.7. This has been sustained for a while now. And as we saw, on the season, Big Zoo has been tremendous value for his owners and well inside his ADP at 48. Now, let's say you can get a top 20 player back for inside this. Be aware of what you're giving up, especially if points in your league, they're hard to come by. He does have some of these scores. And if you go through his box scores lately, he's had some brilliant ones, to be fair. And looking at him on the floor right now, 2 from 7, 5 from 7. But the 26 points here, the 21, the 25, again, it plateaus out. And you see that he's only used to these in limited numbers. These massive rebound games are absolutely huge. And he might be one of the guys who's saving your rebounds each week and helping you getting there narrowly. But maybe you're really competitive and you're like winning most weeks 7-2. And rebounds is one you just eke out that. Look, you only need to win 6-5 in an 11. You only need to win 5-4. So if you're winning 6 or 7, now again, It shrinks your room for error when you get rid of it. But what are you going to get back that could really feed it? This is a guy who doesn't usually traditionally block shots. As you can see here, this is what he's got 5 blocks. There you go. Over the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. Do you need blocks? Are you more competitive there? So maybe that's where you focus your attention on one of these block guys. Again, they are a lot harder to come by, and we could stream guys off the wire. There has been just injuries galore to big men in the NBA. So this is where the sell high window kind of operates, because there are going to be people who are also desperate in leagues right now for a big man, which also brings me to another big man who is flying absolutely high right now under the radar, and that is one Jalen Duren. He has been the 20th best player in fantasy over the course of the past week, 86 on the season. Now, Big Deuce has been going wild. Deuces are wild. He has been racking up big numbers, 14 points a game on average the last 2 weeks, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, almost a block a game, but it's the free throw numbers that have really bounced back for him. In the fact, over the last month, Jalen Duren, for a big man, has been taking about 2.5 to 3 shots. In the last month, it's 2.5. The last week, 3 trips to the line, and he has been plus 800 for this period. In fact, the last week, he has been shooting at 917. That is absolutely elite for your big man, especially when you partner that up with his incredibly elite field goal efficiency, 655 over the past week, 697 the last 2, and over the past month, 700 from the field. Now, if you take a look at Big Duren's game log here, again, what a lot of these centers that are doing is they're getting efficiency in both ends. They're getting it from the field goal, they're getting it from the free throw line. It makes them incredibly valuable. And again, big rebound numbers help a lot. And blocks have crept in here. As you can see, there's been a nice little block trajectory for him. Now, this is a guy, if you go back earlier in the season, 1, none, 1, 2, none, 3. They're never at that elite block shots guy where, you go out your ADs, your Chets, obviously your Victor Wembanyama's. But being a big guy who's like this tough, you think that he's going to get you a lot of blocks. And he doesn't. He'll chip them in, and that's, again, it can be very valuable, especially on one of these margins. But imagine your opponent has somehow Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren. Well, that's going to be fighting shit uphill to try and get that back at the end of the day. Maybe they've got AD and Chet later in a round. I know I've got one of that, and I'm incredible, and I beat a Wembanyama team this year with it. But maybe they've got Gafford, and they've just, and he's out right now, and then he comes back in. But what you're looking for here is sustainability. And on the amount of shots that he is taking as well, these numbers can really buoy you. He's taking about 8 shots a game the last couple of weeks, between 7 and 8. Again, elite efficiency. Now, the efficiency from the free throw line that we love from Duren here as well is something to be under a bit of a microscope. I had this conversation, I think, with Josh Lloyd earlier in the year. We're talking about really valuable big men we could get later if we start missing off that first run. And his ADP was going in around the 70s or the 80s. And if you have a look back at his free throw percentage, when he first started, he was 611. It shot up last year to 690, and on this year, it's 686. So there was a low week. Could he be an 800 free throw shooter? It showed. But then it was down. But it's really come back the last month. And if he can keep on this trajectory, he could probably continue to retain this until the end of the season. Would I do a Duren for a Zubac swap? Maybe an add one? Quite possibly. But Jalen Duren has been like Icarus, flying incredibly close to the sun. So he is, for me, just moved into the realm of sell high player. And another big sell high player this week has got to be this guy right here. Tari Eason is in an absolute storm in a teacup. Now, he is resting today, the game at the play at the Rockets right now versus the Sacramento Kings. It is the second night of a back-to-back, but he has been the 15th best player, according to Basketball Monster, over the course of the past week. And as you can see here on the season, he is the 53rd. Now, this is, again, unlimited games played for him. And if we take a look at him and his statistics right here, when we move over to him, here he is, Tari Eason. In the last 2 weeks, he's averaging this 13.5 points a game, 7 rebounds, 1.5 assists. It's the 1.7 steals in the last 2, 3 over the course of the last week, and the block shot, including his absolutely massive game yesterday. He took 16 shots from the field. This is because Jabari Smith Jr. wasn't around, Fred VanVleet wasn't around, and the floor opened up. And you can see for him here, he made 3 threes in yesterday's game versus the Phoenix Suns. Again, Phoenix was depleted as well. Now, he's injured for this game, and he is 41% rostered. But again, why this is a perfect teacup storm situation thing to move off of him and put him into a trade right now. Maybe this is a 2-for-1 where you use him to really upgrade. Fred VanVleet is returning. Jabari Smith Jr. has got to come back in. This is going to impact him. Does Jabari start again when he comes back? Has Thompson locked up that starting position? It's going to have a direct impact on the amount of minutes that this bloke plays. And you can see here that 2 of the last 4 games he is playing, because he doesn't play the back-to-backs, he's been operating at about 34 minutes. Now, if he goes down to 28 or 27, you can see that it drops off down here to like the 10 rebounds, the 10 points, the 4 rebounds. The 5 steals is elite. But as you can go through, he's got this a few times in spades, and steals are valuable. But if you're going to think that he is going to retain what he has been doing right now going forward, well, you're not. But you're trying to sell that dream to someone. Like, oh, we don't know what's happening. He's playing really well. He doesn't play the back-to-backs. He's not playing in the game right now. But he has been flying incredibly high. And so this is where it is absolute sell high on Tari Eason. But I would be putting this guy with someone else to upgrade one particular spot, because I don't think that he'd last this high this long. I think this is the perfect time to make these trades, one, before the window closes, and also before all of those returning players come back in Houston, because they're returning not long after the All-Star break. I know that the date circled on Jabari Smith Jr.'s schedule is the 21st of February, and that's in 7 days from today, which means we've got about 5 days of no NBA action. Maybe he misses the first and plays the second. And then what happens with Tari Eason? How many minutes can we lock in for him? I just know that what he has been doing is not going to be sustainable. So it is now time to sell high on him. There are some honorable mentions for our sell high as well. The honorable mention guys, these guys have been flying really high over the last week or so. A couple of Denver Nuggets here. Michael Porter Jr. has been 39th, injured out today, 65th on the season. Christian Braun. And now, why does he make the list? He's been at 19 to 57-1. It's Christian Braun, whatever you want to call him, Brawny, the Razor. For me, the Razor, I think of all these players, of these Nuggets guys, between him and MPJ, I think Christian Braun plays better in this system. I think he had a down spike there for a long time, and he has roared back in. And this is guys like Zubac, I don't think people talk enough about. What he's been doing has been incredible for the Denver Nuggets of late. And I think it's more sustainable than MPJ. I've got Braun on some round. I've picked him up off waivers at the beginning of the season. I picked up CB. And I'm reluctant to trade him. In fact, there's going to be a player that I mentioned in the Buy Low show that I have on the roster as well. And I'm like, which one do I trade? And I think I have a personal preference, and then I have the fantasy preference. So I put CB in there for the very clear reason that I think he could sell high, but it's hard because he's not a name player. Siakam's a name player. He has been 12th, first round value. No way he sustains this. Now it bumps back down. There's been injuries and outs in the Indiana Pacers lineup. This is about prime Siakam as you can get. So it's sell high there. Anthony Simons, not sure what's going to happen. I believe that he will probably be dialed back on minutes, and Scoot Henderson is going to have an ascension as we wind down towards the year. And when that happens, Simons does take a hit. We've seen it in the past. Trailblazers are going very well. Ayton out, Klingon on the rise. They're getting some attention. He is 53rd in the last week, 104 on the season. And the other one here is Nick Claxton from Brooklyn. I love Big Clacko. Clacko has been the 34th best player in the last week, 137th on the season, 137 for Nick Claxton. Now, he has been screaming out lately. I don't know what for, but he has just been screaming stats left, right, and center. But again, he plays on the Brooklyn Nets. And I believe inevitably we are going to see a shift towards the young guys, including Clowney and Day'Ron Sharpe. I know Kingy is high on Day'Ron Sharpe, which will also give me a bit of a plug for our good friend Kingy as well. Kingy is popping on a show. We have a big week coming up. We've got some guest analysts coming on to be the 5 moves you need to make to help win your league. And one of those is Day'Ron Sharpe. He's getting some eyes on him. He's playing minutes. And if he can get up to the 25, 30-minute marker a night, he's going to be getting similar stats to what Nick Claxton's doing now, if not even better. Per 36, he projects as a first-round guy. And for that to ensue, to even flirt dangerously close at the bar to that for Day'Ron Sharpe, Clacko has to take a step back. So that's why he gets an honorable mention. So these honorable mentions are MPJ, CB over in Denver, Pascal Siakam, Anthony Simons, and Nick Claxton. And therefore we come to the buy low players. And this buy low player is one of my personal favorite players in the NBA. His name is Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, he has been the 30th best player on the season and 120 over the course of the past week. And I think I love the guy. I don't know many basketball fans who don't love J-Dub. And so when we knock a guy, it's almost like it hurts us a little bit to talk about them negatively. But sometimes we've just got to. And in fact, this hasn't just been a 120 player now for a while. J-Dub has been like trending downwards for a long time. And he's actually been doing this like over the past month. He's been okay. And then with the Hartenstein thing, it was weird. And his numbers have tapered off dramatically. And you can see Yahoo's rankings of him here. In the last 2 weeks, he's at 116. And the last week, he's at 123. He's on the floor right now. They're losing by 12 points on the second night of a back-to-back, the OKC Thunder to the Minnesota Timberwolves, a depleted Minnesota Timberwolves, may I say. Shea had an atrocious beginning of the game. He's now up to 6-20, but he's been living from the free throw line, 11 from 11. And that's Shea. The guy who started out in the first half with 14 points was Jalen Williams. It's the second half right now, and he had 14 points, I think, at the half. He's at 16 points now, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. Now, there are also very, very spicy numbers. We like the full box score. Now, if that was plus 20 and maybe 6 or 7 rebounds, with Chet Holmgren in the lineup now, Chet's got 10 rebounds. Hartenstein's got 12. He's been out-rebounded by Shea, who's got 6. So his rebounds are down. But again, he is very good. He is very, very good. A trade that was so divisive in one of my leagues at the beginning of this year was him for Tyrese Halliburton. When he was on all cylinders go, first round value, it's like J-Dub was flying out the gate and Tyrese Halliburton sucked. Now, Tyrese Halliburton still hasn't been first round on the year, in my opinion. And J-Dub has been tremendous, but he hasn't been that great the last month, in all honesty. And that's just what the numbers indicate. And again, this 16-3-5 today has been 7 from 15 from the field now, down to 46%, 0 threes made on 3 attempts, and 2 from 3 from the field. It does not look sexy, but he is a lot better than this. Again, one of my favorite players. So I feel like I'm knocking a bloke that I love, but it's just the truth. The minutes are there, but the percentages, they're generally pretty good for the bloke, as you can see, but you can just see his drop lately. And the field goal percentage over the last month has been at 486. We know him to be a plus 500 player, and that's where it's been. The free throws hurt, especially when it's getting to the line 4.5 times a game, almost 700. The threes are down. The points have just chipped back up the last couple of weeks. And the rebounds, yeah, they look good, but it's just the peripheral stats that he brings, that almost 2 steals a game has been down to 1. The block shots that were almost at 1 are down to under half per game. And the turnovers, they are up to almost 3 a game for J-Dub. So this is where it's a perfect buy low opportunity because, again, he was sell high at the beginning of the year, and now it's this buy low trough for him. And it's not a guy that I don't like or have any, like, it's just a guy that we want to get on our roster for the lowest price we could possibly pay for him because he's going to be a lot better than this in the end of the year. And I'll tell you who a comp is for him very, very soon. And also, he's a guy who's 100% rostered. And if we look back at the Jalen Durans and the Ivicia Zubac's, 95% owned, like these guys, like they're fully, like there's 5% availabilities in 10-man teams where J-Dub's 100% owned. Yet the other 2 guys have been performing better. So deservedly, ownership needs to shift that way. But we know that these guys that we love and we cherish, we get these big swings and these wings and, you know, we get them in our rosters. We need to be not afraid to move them when they're not performing, but we also shouldn't be afraid to chase them if we think we can get them for a really good price. And I think that's what we could probably get right now with him because I think some managers are going to be frustrated. Some managers are going to be frustrated that he's not performing where he needs to be and he's regressed. And he's someone who I think could really shine after the All-Star break. A guy who needs to do a lot more shotting after the All-Star break is this bloke, the big Turkish Pide, Alperen Şengün. He has been the 135th best player over the course of the year. He has been the 74th best player over the course of the season. And the thing with Alperen Şengün is this. People invest draft picks in guys like Alpy. And when we put these picks into play, we don't like to give them up. You know what I mean? We don't like to give them up for anything else. Now, they just lost out to the Golden State Warriors, and I'm glad that I put this list together because let me give you a bit of an example of him today. The double-double looks sexy on paper, 10 and 13, 4 assists, 1 steal, no blocks. But this is where the percentages hurt you. He is 4 from 10 from the field today. So he took 10 attempts, he's made 4. 0 from 1 threes and 500 from the free throw line. Now, if anything, this bloke's percentage is going to go even down. His value of where he is here at being 135 is going to take more of a hit after today's game than anything else. So this just cracks that window of buy low, open on Alpy more than it has been. Now again, Jabari Smith Jr. needs to come back. Fred VanVleet, who he works pretty well, he's done well opposite this year, needs to come back into this lineup. There's some moving pieces in Houston, and that also works to your advantage of a manager when you're trying to trade for him as well. So let's be conscious of that with Alpy, but his numbers have been down across the board. And it's fair enough as well. You look at his last 2 weeks here, his shot attempts gone from 12.6, they've dipped down to 11.3. The plus 500 from the field is great. The free throw percentage on 5 attempts hurts. Not even a 3 per game. It's not his game to start with. So almost 16 points per game, 8.5 rebounds. They've been down the last week. The assists over the past month, 4.5, but down to 3.8 in the past week. Steals down to 1, and the blocks, look, we all know the negs on him, but again, it's a guy who was 100% rostered. So he's a 100% rostered dude in all Yahoo formats, but guys like Jalen Duren and Zubac, like I'd be having Big Zoo, 95% owned. Duren, 95% owned. At this point in time, I would be favoring one of these guys as my big when it's here. And if you're in a 10-man league and you're listening to this, like trade Şengün. And if he's one of those other bigs is on your roster, bloody hell, I'm bringing him in super quick because I think that's where the true value lays there. And this is what I said, my final main guy I want to focus on buy low right now has to be this guy because he is just, man, he hasn't taken I'm not going to say the Chicago Bull by the horns because he doesn't play for the Bulls, but his name is Mikal Bridges. And I love, again, here's a player that we all just like. We like Mikal Bridges. We like Phoenix Suns Mikal Bridges. We like post-trade Mikal Bridges, where he went over to Brooklyn and set the world on fire. And he is a 96% owned player across all Yahoo leagues. And you would never drop him. But the thing is right now over in New York, OG Anunoby has been out, and it's been his time to shine. Now, it's Josh Hart has been the superstar fantasy ad over the year for these guys, apart from Cat. Brunson's Brunson. And we expected a lot more out of Mikal Bridges. Now, he has been an absolute yo-yo this season, but he is also very, very good. I expected more shot attempts for him. He is down to 10 attempts a game, and he's only making 433. So his field goal percentage is down. His free throw percentage is down. And if you check it out, this year it is almost a career low 742 from the free throw line. And I just don't think he wants to go there and shoot anymore. And the proof is in the pudding. Now, 2 seasons ago, between his time at the Phoenix Suns and the Brooklyn Nets, he was getting to the line and eating at 4.3 attempts per game. Last year in Brooklyn, basically 4 attempts a game at 3.9 and 8.14. He is getting to the line once a game if he's lucky. 1.1 this season at 742. Now, his 3 points are up at 2.3, 17.7 points a game on the year, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and half a block. And you can see where these stats are down over the last, he averages 17 for the year. In the last week, it's been 9. He averages 3.1 rebounds on the year, 3.7. Cool. He's averaging about the same amount of assists, the same amount of steals, but the field goal efficiency will improve from him. He is in a slump right now. He is in the last week, 430. On the year, he's 492. That's incredible for him. And on the year, in the last month, it's 487. The steals are down. If you check out his game log as well on the minutes that he is accruing right here, you get 2, 9, 1, 2. A couple of blocks chip in always help, but it's the low threes again. He had fixed that shot and he was eating 6, 5, 3, 1, 2, 5, 2, 3. And there just seems to be down those threes that he's making. And it just, that hitch is just, I don't know, it just crept back in. And he's not even getting to the line. When he has got to the line, he's gone 500. And you can see these games where he is not attacking the basket. No trips, no trips, no trips, 2 trips, 4 trips, no trips, no trips. 2, 2. Like he's getting fouled on 1 shot a game. Now, he can be better than this. The Knicks need him to be more aggressive than this. And when that creeps back into his game and those free throw attempts go up again, I think the percentages can creep back up for Mikal. And I think he can be a heck of a lot better than when he is now. But again, maybe his owners are going to be frustrated as we're creeping towards the playoff time. And when we're creeping towards the playoff time, that's where you want to bring these guys in to make a push and send something back out there to get. We also want to make sure that you push onto our website and grab out some of our fantastic brand new limited edition NBA fantasy wear. You can get it all on the web shop below, or just touching the button down there with a little shopping cart up on the icon. I do it this side. It's always on this side. I can't do it this way. But you want to push these guys into your lineup, into your cart, and get those. But treat yourself for Valentine's Day. Why not? You're not going to get yourself some flowers. You're going to get yourself some swag, and it is down below. And a big shout out to our big friends over at the Standard Squeeze. Our day ones, IFS 15 is your promo code. Make sure you use that to get the latest on all gear from them, including their 4-in-1s and apparel. Before I get out of here, I've got some honorary Buy Low guys as well. I've got 5 more names for you before we get out of here. Trae Young continues to be Buy Low. Last week, he was the 99th ranked player, 59th on the season. Jalen Brunson, 77th in the last week, 45 on the year. He can be a lot better than that. The efficiency for JB has to creep on up. Desmond Bane, injuries and putting aside there, the Grizzlies have been struggling. Now, in the last week, he was outside this. He wasn't 12. He was in the 120s. He's 36 on the season. Jaren Jackson Jr. has gone down to 278, and he's the 28th player on the year. Jaren Jackson Jr. can be a hell of a lot better than this. And Kawhi Leonard, I put him on the list here as well because he has been the 129th value on the year and 136th since his return. And today is a really good case of why. He's resting. It's the back-to-back set for the Clippers. Managers are going to get frustrated when he plays, when he doesn't play, and all the usual things that go around with the whole Kawhi Leonard experience. Now, the Clippers are looking good in the Western Conference, and they do need him to solidify that playoff spot. And if we have a look at the standings around the NBA, in the West, they need the blow because you don't want to be playing in the play-in tournament. And that's where they are right now on the fringe of. They are at 30 wins, and so are the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's been major changes over in the Dallas Mavericks. They're at 29 wins. Sacramento's at 28. The Golden State Warriors are at 28. Now, for any reason these guys lose and start to fall behind games, even though they've won the last 2, again, they've won the last 2 to be in this position. They put themselves in play-in tournament torture with guys like possibly the Phoenix Suns, the Golden State Warriors, the Sacramento Kings, the Dallas Mavericks with a hopefully returning and well AD, and the Minnesota Timberwolves with the playoff-motivated Anthony Edwards. They want to avoid that come hell or high water, in my opinion. They've made some great acquisitions. Bogdan Bogdanovic and Ben Simmons are both out there today playing their first game. And Kawhi Leonard fits into this area where he just can come back in and do the work that he needs to do to help secure this 6th spot. They only need the 6th spot. That's all they need to get to. And to boy that they need to get the win. So I don't know that he plays all of the back-to-backs. Maybe if it gets close, they roll him out there and play one, even though it's never their intention. I think there is a chance that we do see him play one. We've seen it before that they do, and they're losing today to the Utah Jazz. 2 LA teams, 2 victories for the Jazz, 87-74. Do these guys know how to lose come tank season? I just want to ask a question, asking for a friend. Not invested that heavily in it, but they are behind 10 points now. Norm Powell, again, is shining at 23. James Harden at 22. Zubac, who I had on the sell high earlier, he's having a bit of an off game, 10 and 8. Bogdan Bogdanovic and Ben Simmons both getting in there and getting into what they need to do. They're getting limited minutes. Ben Simmons is at 10:57. Bogdan Bogdanovic at 13:13 and continues to struggle. 7 attempts from the field for Bogdan Bogdanovic. He's only made 1 bucket on this year. We've all been scratching our head and goes like, what's going on with Bogey? I don't know. Maybe he gets it right, but they need him in that 6-man role. And that's where I think it's a really good time right now to swooping in on these players. So our last mentions, Trae Young, Brunson, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Kawhi Leonard all make the Buy Low Honourable Mentions list. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe to all the things on Insight. More content coming up and some all-star specials. And those shows, 5 moves to you must make now. We kick it off with Kingy tomorrow. I think the day after you hear this one, the Kingy one drops. Check it out. We'll see you soon, guys. Take care.